I've been bashing them for a bit now, and now it's finally time to talk about the legendary dragons. Probably one of the biggest name wastings in Yu-Gi-Oh history. They debuted in the ever so wonderful filler arc of Awakening the Dragons in the original Duel Monsters, and were used by Yugi, Kaiba, and Janucci, each one having their own dragon and their set of fusions. Oh boy, let's start and let's first take a look at the original three legendary dragons. First up we have the Claw of Hermos. Of course, each legendary dragon is treated as the legendary dragon with its name, this being of course legendary dragon Hermos. And this one allows you to send one monster from your hand to or field to the graveyard, the type that is listed on a fusion monster that can only be special summoned with the Claw of Hermos. If that card is set, reveal it, then you can special summon that fusion monster from your extra deck. You can only activate one Claw of Hermos once per turn. And next up we have Critias, which requires a trap card to work, and the Eye of Timaeus requires a Dark Magician monster in order to work. Now I've skimmed over, I've skimmed over them very quickly because, well, this is basically all they do, being unsearchable fusion cards. However, yeah, I said that Timaeus fusions are the best and the Critias fusions are the worst. Why are the Timaeus fusions the best? Well, because they specifically require a Dark Magician monster in order to work, which in turn makes them searchable by Dark Magician support because they search out cards with cards with Dark Magician in their name, or that list Dark Magician in their card effect text. So yeah, also the Timaeus fusions are actually made to be the Dark Magician support. So yeah, Claw of Hermos is meh. It requires a monster of which the monster type of that monster needs to be listed on that fusion monster, and yeah, Red Eyes Dragon Sword and one more, I believe, is was already mentioned in previous review. Ah, that's right. Red Eyes Black Dragon Sword and Goddess Bow. Red Eyes Dragon Sword was mentioned in the Red Eyes review. Go watch that if you want to catch up to that. So it requires a dragon type monster in order to be summoned, and Goddess Bow requires a warrior monster, and that monster was mentioned in the Poker Night video. So yeah, go watch that video. And we'll get to some other Hermos fusions, but those monsters are again a warrior fusion and a spellcaster fusion. So yeah, so the Hermos is the second best, while Critias is straight up the worst among them because it requires a trap card in order to be summoned. And why am I bitching so much about this? Well, first of all, traps are slower by spells than by nature, and not to mention if Critias usually requires trap cards that you actually want to straight up save and activate. So yeah, not to mention that the monsters are very poor adaptations of those trap cards, and the fact that none of these trap cards can be actually searched in order to like do stuff with them. Well, the Hermos cards can be searched out. Like warriors can be searched out by Rhoda. There are some dragons which are easily searchable or can be easily searched by other stuff, and the same goes for spellcasters. But these trap cards, other than Mirror Force for Mirror Force Dragon, which was mentioned in the Mirror Force review, the Mirror Force launcher is the only card that can search out Mirror Force in order to summon it, and yeah, neither of these cards can be searched. So yeah, you have to rely on constantly drawing them naturally. So yeah, Critias is outright the worst among them because of that. However, what you can do instead of conducting these fusions is use the card known as Legend of Heart to pay 2,000 life points and tribute a warrior monster to banish up to 3 legendary dragon spells with different names from your hand and or graveyard. And if you do special summon that many legendary knight monsters with different names from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, you can only activate one Legend of Heart per turn. Alright, so let's take a look at these legendary night monsters. First up we have Hermos. This one cannot be normal summoned or set and must be special summoned with Legend of Heart. When this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up spell or trap on the field and banish that target. Okay, so all of the legendary knights have this effect, so yeah, this is where their individual effects come in. Hermos can once per turn, when it's targeted for an attack, target one effect monster in the graveyard until the end phase of your next turn. This card's name becomes that monster's original name and replace this card's effect with its original effect. Then we have Critias, which when he is attacked can target a trap card in the graveyard and set it to the field, and that trap card can be activated this turn. And Tamias does the same thing, but for spell cards. Now it's actually the reverse of the usual here. Tamias is actually the worst one, and Critias is actually the best one here. Tamias is actually like, if you don't recover a quick play spell with this thing, you're basically useless now. So yeah, Hermos I would actually call Hermos good if it wasn't for the restriction that he needs to be attacked in order to activate this effect. So yeah, that basically makes him outclassed by Starving Venom, Fusion Dragon, and everything related to it. So yeah. However, Critias is actually good. It can help you recover a very powerful battle trap or any basically trap that can turn the tide around at that specific battle. And yeah, it's the best among the legendary knights. So yeah, this is the only one I would actually consider running. If you run the Fang of Critias, you're most certainly not doing it to summon their fusions most of the time. You're most likely running it in order to summon Critias. Sorry about that, really sorry. Alright, now for their fusion monsters. Like I said, Red Eyes Dragon Sword, Goddess Bow, Doom Virus Dragon, Mirror Force Dragon, and all of the Tamias fusions were mentioned in their respective reviews. So yeah, now we're going to take a look at the monsters that don't fall into any archetype. First up we have to take a look at Rocket Warrior, who is a level 4 warrior with 1500 attack and 1300 defense. And during your battle phase, this card cannot be destroyed by a battle. Also, you take no damage from attacks involving this card. If this card attacks a monster after damage calculation, the attack target loses 500 attack until the end of this turn. Not sure what this is supposed to induce, other than slightly weakening the opponent's monster for the sake of gimmicks, I guess. But it can be used for for one of their fusion monsters, that being Rocket Hermos Cannon. Must be special summoned with the Claw of Hermos and using a warrior monster. If this card is special summoned, target one other face-up monster on the field, equip this card to it. It can make a second attack during each battle phase. Also, if it attacks a defense position monster, inflicts piercing damage to your opponent. Much like Goddess Bow, I would have absolutely loved it if it actually could be summoned with instant fusion, because it's a somewhat of a worse armory arm, and yeah, that's pretty much all it has going for it. If you can actually make armory arm, I would prefer that over this thing, because yeah, Armory Arm actually does a Flame Wingman burst damage upon destroying a monster, which is, I think, a bit better, so yeah. I mean, the double attacking does sound sweet, but you can usually make some monsters which can already make double attacks on their own, so yeah. It's okay, perfectly serviceable, run by preference, and all of that. Next up we have Time Wizard, who is a level 2 spellcaster with 500 attack and 400 defense, and once per turn you can toss a coin, and if you call it right, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and if you call it wrong, destroy as many monsters you control as possible, and if you do, take damage equal to half the total attack of the destroyed monsters had a face up on the field. So yeah, this is one of the very first Gimbal cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever to exist, and back in the day it was fine, nothing too special. Although it was a major out to some very problematic monsters back in the day, so it wasn't as irrelevant, so yeah. But nowadays it's basically not worth it, because Boards your opponents make are usually unaffected by everything with the right conditions, so yeah, it can be a bit of a dead card nowadays. But you can always fuse it with Baby Dragon, a vanilla monster, in order to summon a vanilla fusion monster known as Thousand Dragon. There's that option, because it's in the archetype. Yeah, no. Anyway, its fusion counterpart is Time Magic Hammer. It has, okay, again, like Rocket Hermos Cannon deck, it has the exact same stats as the monster it's based on. Can be summoned with Claw of Hermos using a spellcaster monster, and if this card is special summoned, target one other face-up monster on the field, equip this card to it. At the start of the damage step, if it battles an opponent's monster, you can roll a 6-sided die, and banish that opponent's monster until the standby phase of the nth turn after this card's activation, and n being the result of the dice you roll. I'm actually having quite mixed feelings about this one. Again, this one relies on luck in order to be of any use, and you would most likely want to remove stuff permanently from the field, not until a certain term passes. And if you're banishing monsters, you just run the Fortune Lady Every or Junk Archer in order to do that, even if it is only for one turn with Junk Archer and permanently with Fortune Lady Every when she's revived from the graveyard. So yeah. Again, would be better if it could be summoned with instant fusions. So yeah. Again, run by preference. Alright, now we're going to the Critias fusion. And first up we have to look at the Ring of Destruction trap card. During your opponent's turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls whose attack is less than or equal to their life points. Destroy that face-up monster, and if you do, take damage equal to its original attack. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took, and you can only activate one Ring of Destruction per turn. Yeah, this was one of the best trap cards in the game because of how powerful it was. It was on the ban list for quite some time until it got an errata. Back before the errata days, you could try to target any monster, that meaning one of yours as well. And not to mention that the attack of the monster didn't have to be lower than the or equal to the opponent's life points. So yeah, you can basically OTK opponents very quickly and very easily, which led to the banning of this card. And nowadays it's a fine card, nothing too spectacular. It can produce some neat outs to some very problematic monsters. So yeah. And now we have the fusion monster, Destruction Dragon. It's a level 8 with 2000 attack and 3000 defense. Must be special summoned with Fang of Critias using a Ring of Destruction. And once per turn you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it, then if it was a monster card, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Again, once per turn, a destruction effect on any card of the field sounds lovely, but we're still focusing on drawing two very specific, unsearchable cards in order to summon this thing. If you really crave this effect, you better off just run Chaos number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Hunter instead, or its pre-evolution Giant Grinder, because they offer the same kind of removal but eons better. So yeah, not very worth it. Now the next trap card is very bizarre. We have Tyrant Wing. Target one dragon monster on the field. Equip this card to it. It gains 400 attack and defense. Also, it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. Once per turn during the end phase, if the monster equipped with this card with this effect attacked and an opponent's monster this turn, destroy this card. Yeah, you basically get a dragon with boosted attack beat stick that can attack twice once. So yeah. If you were confused by my wording choice there, you basically this card basically stays active for one battle phase. That's it. However, you can always use this card for the Tyrant Burst Dragon, which can only be special summoned, of course, with the Fang of Critias using Tyrant Wing, and this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls. once each, of course. You can target one face-up monster you control, equip this monster to that target. It gains 400 attack and defense, and also you can make 3 attacks during each battle phase. Again, this is actually what I would consider the best Critias monster. However, the trap card here is actually rancid garbage and unsearchable. So yeah, I found it really funny how the Critias fusions always have this tendency to balance out the usefulness of the card and the monster they're summoning, along with the searchability factor, which is all present on all of the Critias monsters and their respective trap cards. If you're into massive multiple attacking, you just build a Lunalite deck out of these, because it OTKs much more consistently than this piece of garbage, and it has a boss monster that this card wishes it could emulate. So yeah. However, their final card, Ultimate Fusion Monster, is Tamaya's the Knight of Destiny. This is a level 10 with undetermined attack and defense points, warrior, which requires the 3 legendary knights in order to be fusion summoned. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards you control to the graveyard and cannot be special summoned by other ways. You do not use polymerization, it is a contact fusion. This one is unaffected by your this one is unaffected by other cards' effects, and once per turn, if this card battles during damage calculation in either player's turn, you can make this card's attack and defense become equal to the attack of the monster on the field with the highest attack, your choice if tied. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can special summon 3 legendary Dragon Knight monsters from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions. If you could summon this thing with the original polymerization, I would have actually called it very decent, but as it is now, you're basically forced to run the legendary dragon cards in, as well as the original Dragon Knights in order to summon this thing. And what you get is a solid boss monster, which is basically prime kaiju bait if I ever saw one. Also, yeah, unaffected by everything is absolutely nice, but I would have actually loved it if you could actually special summon this with the original polymerization. So yeah, could have been better, but it certainly could have been a lot worse, so I won't be complaining that much now. Alright, grades. How do we grade these name wasters? Well, in terms of consistency, they don't have much, honestly. I mean, you can search the warriors with Rhoda, again, which is, again, limited. And you can, you can search out the Dark Magician stuff and Tamaya stuff in their respective archetype, and that's about as far as it goes. Again, it's a completely other archetype with a completely different playstyle, so yeah, I'm giving them a 1 out of 3 there. Power, they have potential to hit very, very hard, most notably with Tamaya's the Knight of Destiny. So yeah, it's basically a one-trick pony. However, because Tamaya's the Knight of Destiny simply exists, and because of how powerful it can be if you manage to summon it, that is, I'm gonna be generous and give him a 2 out of 3 there. Comeback ability is purely non-existent. Once you shut them down, there's basically nothing they can do nothing that they can do to basically turn the tides around, other than drawing into Legend of Heart or basically summoning a fusion that can basically turn the tide around of the duel at any specific moment. So yeah, 1 out of 3. Protection is also non-existent, so yeah, I won't elaborate more on that. So 1 out of 3 goes there as well. And as for the versatility, yeah, this is an archetype whose half of the support cards actually fall under different archetypes. So yeah, that's that versatility they have. Well, the Dark Magician stuff is actually pretty neat, and it was actually made with Dark Magician in mind. So I'm gonna be again generous here and give him a 2 out of 3 in versatility as well. So yeah, this concept could have been a lot better. When I was first watching Waking the Dragons, I thought this was gonna be a very, very promising dragon-based archetype with lots of varying aesthetics to its playstyle, but nope, they blew it. They blew it just like the filler arc it was. They blew it out of the sky, and yeah, like I said, I would absolutely love to see an archetype made around main deck female spellcaster type monsters and extra deck dragon type monsters. I will actually be blessed if Konami actually made that. The closest we've got for now, at least it does not concern an extra deck. Well, it does in a way. Is the Dragon Maid archetype, and as soon as it comes into TCG, I'm 100% picking up a Dragon Maid deck. You can bet on it. Bet 100% on it. So yeah. Until then, we can all just speculate and hope it comes into reality. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and updates. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as usual, I'll upload the next vid whenever I can. See you all. Have a good day, and peace.